Hey, girlfriend, you know who you are. You have big, big dreams. You want to write a book, stand on a TED Talk stage, be a life coach offering wisdom from your RV in Montana, a cafe in Barcelona, or a beach chair in Tulum. Your other girlfriends and your family, they don't always get your biz savvy. Why do you want to leave your JOB? Because you're a C.A.T.S, aka coach, author, thought leader, and speaker. Meet other change makers like yourself and find out how they make it happen. This is the Big Meow podcast.
Hey, cats, it's Kristen, and I'm here with Lori Vann. Hi, Lori.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
I noticed you're missing your cat ears.
I do not have actual cat ears, but I do have a cat.
Oh, right. Well, let's just jump right in. What are you working on these days?
Oh, there's so many different irons in the fire, and I just hired on an executive virtual assistant so I can start tackling the 3 different businesses that I have. So, counseling keeps me busy. That's the primary, but been organizing the speaking events and doing different types of coaching, whether that's on the business coaching end of it or on the life strategy sessions, and then running the Institute for Non-Suicidal Self-Injury.
Wow. You have a lot on your plate. Sounds like a lot of us entrepreneurs. We always have these different new ideas. How do you keep it all balanced?
It's just trying to focus sometimes on which fire is burning the brightest at that moment. Because I'm going through my mind each day. I'm like, okay, what's the most pressing of the things that has to be addressed? And what's the thing that can be delegated, or the item that, that can wait. That is not a priority item. That's I'll get to it and it's going to be okay because it'll get done. And I don't need to stress about it. So it's really a little bit of juggling, and I'm a huge sticky note person and paper, and I love that feeling of being able to draw that line
Right.
through an item.
I love doing that too. So what's energizing you these days?
Yeah, it's a variety of things. The excitement, of course, of whenever you see a client improves and they have a big breakthrough, or in counseling when you're like, okay, it's time to discharge. Like, you are awesome. You've met your goals. The feedback of when the information I've put out there has landed in someone's lap that really needed to have it at that moment, and it became literally a lifesaver for them. Or just, any opportunity where I get to serve.
I think that a lot of us cats, we're entrepreneurs. We have many, many different things going on. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming, probably even to the point where, we might wonder if it's worth it. What advice would you give to female entrepreneurs that are just feeling like at the very last thread?
First, it's understandable that you're not alone. Every single entrepreneur goes through that at some point in their career, if not multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful to have inspirational quotes that ground you in it. And I know one that sticks for me is I think it was a Japanese proverb that, going through a forest, you don't know where you're at that halfway mark. And at some point you're going to hit that light. And when it feels the darkest, you might be right on that verge of starting to see the light again. And there are plenty of things that go along that same sentiment. But it is that paying attention to your body first. And when you're feeling that discouragement, and you're like, I just don't think I have it in me. That's probably your body's way of saying, you know what, you need to rest for a little bit. And that's a mistake I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into, is they keep pushing, and they're living on that adrenaline, and it keeps them going. And so they don't really feel tired until they hit that wall. And now their recovery period is going to be much longer. So listen to your brain, listen to your body, and it's okay to take a day to step back and just not think about business and have that relief. don't do it indefinitely, have some kind of plan in place there, but we weren't meant to go nonstop.
I think that's such really profound advice, because one of the things that keeps me going forward, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, is, even when it's a little bit hectic or overwhelming, it's like everything can turn around for the better in a day. And I just step away from my desk and I go to bed, or, go for a walk or have a glass of wine, or, just something that just is a pattern interrupt. And I also really have made it a rule where, I don't let my clients come into my personal cell phone. Like I don't have that email, that office email on my personal cell phone. And I don't work on Sundays. And it really has changed my mental health, just having those really simple boundaries, just making sure that those spaces are set. Like at the end of the day, it's the end of the day.
Yes, and that is so important, and such a point that you bring up is that you have to have boundaries in personal and professional life. That's something that I teach entrepreneurs. It's something that I go to businesses and train them on, because that is preventing burnout when you do it. But you do have to hold that personal time as being sacred as much as possible, so you can refresh and have days where you go like, no, work is done. That is it. Or to say, you know what, I'm really exhausted and I could try to fight through this, but it's not going to be productive. And I'll say it's like in the last week, that turnaround last week is like, I just don't know what's going on with the three businesses. Like things are quiet right now, and this is weird. And so I went back to the drawing board and I'm like, okay, what things have I not been doing? What things did I put on autopilot and I assumed were okay? And it's like, I need to revisit that. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, and including yesterday and today too, like all three parts of the business, all of a sudden we're busy again. I'm like, can we have a little bit more consistency? Can we not have all three at once?
I know, it's like, welcome to being an entrepreneur. I mean, I think that's true too, is just to also remember that all of these businesses, they have cycles, and they're unexpected. We never know when it's going to change, and that it's not even always necessarily something you're doing right or wrong. It's just part of that natural ebb and flow, this energy that's out there in the world. And, to just allow yourself, it's almost like we wish we had this bird's eye view that was like, oh, these 2 weeks are going to be quiet. I mean, we'd all go to Cabo, right? Because we know it's going to be quiet. And then when we actually want to go somewhere, things are blowing up all over the place. So
Yes,
I think that's just par for the course.
it absolutely is. It'd be wonderful to have that crystal ball, but it doesn't exist. And that's where it becomes that much more important for entrepreneurs to have systems and to have people that can cover things so that you can go and do your Cabo trip and not feel stressed the entire time going, what kind of fires are happening right now while I'm gone?
I know that really ruins it. So what about self-care? I mean, entrepreneurs, a lot of times we put ourselves last, even though we're coaches, right? Like we coach each other our clients, how to take care of themselves, but maybe we don't always follow our own advice. What would you say to all of us?
100%. And I'm not gonna, say that I am perfect with it, because I'm not.
Right.
I'm human. There are plenty of times in my brain I'm like, that's really good. Are you listening to yourself right now? Practice what you preach. Do you think? And things I do try to do on a daily basis with self-care is that I treat caffeine as a drug, because it is. And so it's one of those, I don't automatically go for it. I'm going to try to do other things to boost my energy and focus level. And sometimes that's running in place, getting some cold water, just, something else. And so it's one of those, if I go to caffeine, it's like, yeah, I need it. So I treat it with respect. And the foods that I eat, I've been trying to cut back on sugar, just because so much research has come out as to the detrimental impact sugar has on a physiological and psychological basis. And it just, so overall nutrition, some kind of physical activity. My husband and I have this thing that Most days of the week, like 5 out of 7, we do exercises together, whether that's speed walking in a park or a mall or something.
Who's faster?
He is, because he's got a good 6 inches on me.
Oh, yeah,
He's
that
got
doesn't
longer
count. He's got
legs.
longer legs. I have a son like
Yeah.
that. He's 6'5". I can't keep up with him at all.
Yeah, I'm like, wait. And so we do that. And it's also a great way to just talk a little bit about the day. And as I'm walking, I'm also processing some things as well. And that's part of self-care. But it's a way we also bond, and then we go to the gym together. And then, yeah, we have pets. Wasn't the intention, but we ended up having our daughter's pet. That was not the game plan. But thankfully, he's wonderful and adorable. And so there's pet therapy. I'm a big supporter of that. And then, sleep. That's probably my biggest thing that I am not the greatest on. And I know that's true for a lot of entrepreneurs. And I'm more of that night owl type of, like, the little bulb just turns on at 10 p.m. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm focused and I can do this now.
Isn't that funny? Like, when you think about the time, that's your time of day. I noticed when I was writing my book, like, my time of day was like 11:30 to like 1:30. It was like right in the middle of the day. It was like super inconvenient, but it was like just this, I was awake enough to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just going to have to do it. It's like my lunchtime thing. But, we all have that rhythm, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's kind of at a strange cycle. Like, so yours is 10 p.m.
Yeah, and I get that, I think, from my mom. She was a night owl, and so that's just, whether through role modeling or genetics or whatever the case may be, that's just sort of my thing too. And it's always interesting because my husband's a morning person, which, that's great. Bless morning people. I'm trying to, like, get converted over to that, because for any successful entrepreneur, when you look at people that are really high income bracket individuals, they get up in the morning, they get up early, and they're on top of it and out of bed and completed things by 7 a.m.
Wow. Count those sunrises on one hand. No, I'm just kidding. Well, what's next for you?
Well, it's really the continuation of a lot of these projects. It's working on, and some of it is in the season too.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at the fall part, because schools and school districts, colleges, conferences are making their fall plans now. So
Yeah.
I'm focusing a lot on the speaking part, focusing a lot in particular with the Institute for Self-Injury, of getting into school districts to train up staff on how to recognize it, how to handle it, so they can also in turn it becomes suicide prevention strategies. And then I'm getting ready to launch a series of different coaching programs through a new label called Path to Happiness. And the first one is going to be on perfectionism. And there's going to be one that's geared for adults that struggle with perfectionism and some of the imposter syndrome. And then there's one for students, where their parents and the student work together through that program.
Awesome. So, Lori, where can we find you?
Well, there's a couple of websites. I always say that if you Google me, you're probably going to find me somewhere on social media. The vannassociates.com is the main hub. It's BANN associates.com. There's Institute for NSSI.com that has all of the many free and low cost resources for that. And then for anything on the speaking or media interviews, that's the lorivann.com. But I'm on TikTok, the Institute is, and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the Big Meow. Good luck with everything.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to the Big Meow podcast, sponsored by C.A.T.S Network. If you liked what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. You can also join our network filled with positivity and possibility. Visit www.catsnetworking.com to join us and learn more, together with your magical, motivated, and mystical new friends at C.A.T.S Network. Let's transform 1 million lives with your message. Are you feeling isolated, sitting at home in your PJs? Or perhaps you're tired of the comfy sweatpants with holes in them that are hidden just below the camera? I mean, you could puke at the thought of another day of Zoom meetings and reporting to your BOSS. Do you want freedom from your home office desk or the office cubicle? Do you want freedom from your current career? Or are you frustrated that your online biz dreams are going nowhere? It's all too overwhelming. Where do you start? All the tech, the choices, and your message. Yep, I said your message, your brand, your voice. What is it? Do you even know what that means? Do you need a biz coach but don't want to invest the big bucks? Let's face it, being a solopreneur is lonely, but you don't have to do it alone. And here's a solution. Join C.A.T.S Network. C.A.T.S Network is a woman-only membership community exclusively available to you, the life coach or executive coach, the author, the thought leader, or the public speaker. If you identify with this list or want to work on adding some of these to your skill set, C.A.T.S is the place for you. Check us out at www.catsnetworking.com. That's C.A.T.S networking.com. Because let's face it, cats are better together.